Y aquí va la chancla, carajito.
Oh no!
Who is this force of nature?
That's the captain's grandmother.
What was the spell she cast at the end?
It's just Spanish. Oh, this again.
If you told me you were going to make a first-person virtual reality tower defense game, that bit alone is slightly out of the ordinary. Then if you went on and told me the story was going to revolve around a space janitor named Captain Toonhead who, of course, wears a TV over his head, and that he then becomes a messiah and protector of these alien cube people, and that he ends up battling, among other equally odd things, armor-covered, bomb-carrying T-Rexes and cyber chickens from outer space, after asking you what drug combinations you are most certainly on, I'd for sure call both you and your game idea absolutely ridiculous. The great thing is, though, sometimes ridiculous is also absolutely fantastic, and that is the case with the VR title Captain Toonhead vs. the Punks from Outer Space.
Oh, finally, cartoons.
Even as the game itself is loading up for the very first time, just your loading bar itself gives you a hint at the humor that's on its way. You're basically the last remaining and seemingly least qualified crew member to carry out your mission, which at a glance is to try and save the world from being detonated by the game's supervillain Voorhees.
Get him out of here.
I see you have a great ship here. WTF, with F for finest.
From the get-go, you have your main companion, the ever-present ship's AI.
Janine, this doesn't look good.
I had other priorities.
We're here to save and rescue.
And while you'll be alone early on, that won't last, and before long you'll meet your own personal minions, the Inner Cubes. Every tower defense game needs something to defend, and these guys are it. And considering they view you as their cube-headed messiah, it's up to you to protect them, and of course, along the way, hopefully save the Earth from destruction. You can review each map on the briefing screen up on your ship's console, and once you're ready, you just place your hammer on the platform, and off you go planetside.
Voorhees, you messed with Granny. I'll show you!
If your main character is as odd as someone named Captain Toonhead, you know that you're not making run-of-the-mill towers and catapults in this game. Pinata towers and hot sauce spewing cannons are much more the type of armament you're going to run into. At the beginning of each mission, you can take your time in planning your strategy and tower layout, and constructing or deconstructing towers is an easy one-directional button affair. And once you're ready, you just need to hit or shoot the first portal, and the wave will begin. Combat and its various considerations evolve in complexity at a very enjoyable and manageable pace. Early on, you'll be pressing one button to assess an eagle-eye view of the battlefield, a directional button to jump to a tower of your choice, the trigger to shoot your pistols to stop enemies, and a toggle switch to jump between your hammer and your pistol, using the hammer to pick up loot from fallen enemies, and then repeating that process as the waves require. Downed enemies drop gears, which serve as the game currency to build and upgrade. In between waves, you get a limited amount of downtime to build new towers, upgrade towers with enough experience, and generally plan for the next wave. After a while, through both story and skill tree unlocks, your offensive and defensive options will increase. And just for fun, let's jump through just a few of the ridiculous options you might encounter in a typical level of Captain Toonhead. Maybe, despite your best efforts, the enemies are overwhelming your defenses. All you maybe need is a power boost. Once charged, raise those real-life hands of yours up in the air, and you'll enter into whatever turret you're currently teleported to. You'll get some cool Flight of the Valkyries-esque music, and it's time to conquer your enemies with some supercharged guns.
Independence Day's here! Or let's say you're having a hard time holding the line in a particular spot on the map.
No problem, just upgrade the corresponding skill on the skill tree in between missions, and in any downtime you have, you can use your hammers and add experience to your towers. These are just a couple of scenarios, and some of them will change based on what skill upgrade points and paths you choose to take, but regardless, it's clear that the game has been well balanced with fun and accessibility in mind. You'll definitely need to learn to use your core group of skill sets to be successful, but the pace at which they add those new skills to the game are well paced, so it never feels overwhelming, and how they introduce these is often very humorous and make for some hilarious story beats. If you get stuck on a mission, which may happen every now and then, it can be fun revisiting older missions with your newer perks to try and save more inner cubes and earn more upgrade points. There's really not a whole lot of cons to really be found in the game, but there are a couple things to note, at least at time of this video review publication. The teleporting from tower to tower does take some getting used to, and getting momentarily disoriented on which direction the enemy can be a frustration in the heat of battle, and you will accidentally teleport to a wrong tower every now and then. On the Quest 2 platform that the majority of this campaign was played on, the frame rate can dip at heavy points in battle, but this wasn't overly frequent. And you will see enemy animations get choppy if they're far off in the distance, but this is done to keep the overall frame rate of the game smooth, and I would say doing that is much more preferable to having worse overall performance. In the entire 4 to 6 hour campaign, I only had one major crash, but it did happen at the end of an overall area map, meaning that I missed out on the end of area story dialogue cutscenes before transitioning to the new area, and since you can't replay those cutscenes, I missed out on that story section. This review is less than a month after release though, and I wouldn't be surprised if not only is that very rare, but if it is an issue, it gets patched very, very quickly. As a last note, if you happen to be an Oculus owner, the title is Quest and Oculus Desktop Cross-Buy, meaning that if you buy it on one platform, whether it's on the Quest store or on the Oculus desktop app, you will have access to both of those. I will admit that I definitely came into this game a bit hesitant because while creating something out there, which this game most certainly is, can be a great way to stand out, if anything along the way doesn't hit, whether it's the humor, the art style, or especially the underlying game mechanic loop, if any of that doesn't remain satisfying, then it also becomes a major recipe for disaster. All of these pieces do hit though, and the synergy of all these individual parts creates a very charming and engaging experience far beyond the genres and styles by themselves. The game absolutely oozes charm, is easy to pick up and play, and should definitely be experienced.